Dad, you've protected me all my life. Now it's my turn to protect you. There is life with you, not with me. Don't come looking for me. I'm safe. I'm fine.
Mr. Vogel, I would normally release someone with this type of infection.
Dad!
I need you to follow the rules here. Quarantine is 8 weeks in. She's probably going to show more signs of aggression and hunger. When that happens, say your goodbyes and get her straight into quarantine.
I made a promise to your mother that I will protect you.
Quarantine rules apply to everybody, Wade.
We're super excited to have you guys here, and as you can see in this trailer, this isn't your typical zombie movie. It really focuses on this father-daughter relationship between Abigail Breslin and Arnold. So what inspired the story, Henry, and how did you get involved, Arnold?
Go ahead, Henry, explain.
Explain everything. So I think everybody has seen every kind of zombie permutation imaginable. We've seen, comedy zombies, we've seen, The Walking Dead has done everything as well. But what we haven't, and The Last of Us is a video game, what we haven't seen is a look at what it does to a family, what it does to the smallest kind of portion of humanity. And so what Maggie does is takes a lens and puts it on Arnold, who plays Wade, and shows the viewers what a single father will do with his daughter who's slowly dying. So it's a pure drama, and it allows for us to really see and ask what we would do in this situation, because it makes it more human, more like a contagious disease or a virus, much less than a traditional zombie film.
Yeah, definitely. And how did you first get involved, Arnold?
Well, I met Henry, and he presented me this project and kept at it, and always tried to convince me that I should do this as my next project. But I had already 2 projects laid out, and that I had obligations to do. So then my agent kept calling me and saying, "You got to do this movie, this fantastic story." And of course, I fell in love with the script. It was really a really well-written script, and but it was a small movie, and so the question was, should I do this small kind of a movie that was like a budget of like, what was it, $5 million, $6 million or so?
Around there, yeah.
Which was kind of like the budget of a 1984 Terminator 1 movie, but in 1984. So it was really a small budget, and but I realized finally that I shouldn't worry about what the budget is. I really fell in love with the story. I thought it was something that I could not have done 30 years ago, that now it is really the right time to do something like that. I'm not really looking for the big payoff here because I have plenty of money. I've made my money in all the past action movies and everything like that, so I'm not doing projects based on money. And number 2, by now I had kids myself, and I can relate to the situation much better, having had kids now for all these years, and thinking about what a drama it must be to see your daughter dying, and living in a house and seeing for 6 weeks this, going by, this drama. And so I just thought from a dramatic point of view that it was probably the most human kind of a story for me, the most human character that I've ever done, and probably the most human zombie movie that ever was done. Because like Henry said, we always see kind of the hundreds of thousands of zombies running around, and as soon as they get bitten, they get infected, and the meat hangs off, and the blood comes out, and all this kind of weird stuff. But here you see kind of rules where the zombie virus kind of takes real effect over a period of like 6 weeks. And you have this daughter of yours living in a house, and the danger eventually comes where I have to kill her through this injection that they suggest, which is a very painful death, or I would have to shoot her with a shotgun, or she will kill me. It's one or the other. And so this is the drama that the movie shows, what I go through as a father and what my daughter goes through and what the whole family basically falls apart in this whole thing. So I just thought it was a very dramatic piece, and that's what attracted me eventually to the film. And I'm very happy that I chose it and that I did it, because it was really a great pleasure working with Henry. And even though this was his first movie, but he had a very clear vision. And he was, I think after a day or two of going over the fact that he's directing The Terminator and The Governor and all those kind of things, he got used to me criticizing me and saying, that was shitty. I mean, let's try to do this again now, this scene and all that stuff. So that was really helpful that he felt courageous enough to move in and to say, here's what we need to do, and here's how we have to make the adjustments. And so it was wonderful to work with him.
Did you miss not doing any big action sequences?
Well, it was not like that it was all of a sudden gone, because remember that just before then, right after then I was doing Terminator 5. And so I was going on a set in New Orleans, the same place where we shot this movie, and had all of the big action scenes and all of the fight scenes and the blow-ups and explosions and all the craziness and special effects and all that stuff right there. So no, I didn't miss it at all. As a matter of fact, it was interesting to really do a film where we didn't have to rely on a fight scene or an explosion and the action, even though there's action in it, but not in compared to a Terminator.
Yeah, and you do get to fight some zombies in the movie, which is cool.
Yes.
A couple.
Thank you.
A couple, yeah.
Yeah.
I think with the zombies in Maggie, there are only a handful. And it really is Maggie's the main zombie, but it's about showing at what point does humanity stop and the kind of animalistic zombie nature start. And so you'll look at her and you go, wait, she looks like she's become a zombie, but she's still talking and interacting in a human way. And then there's moments where she's sounding like a zombie, but there's, she turns around and she still looks a little human. So it's all about that stage at which you realize, like, when has someone gone too far? When have they changed? When have they stopped being a human? Which I don't think any other zombie projects have asked yet. So that's the aim with that, is to show a different side.
And so if there were a zombie outbreak in California, what would be your decision as a governor to do? Your first choice of action?
Well, I think that California is very well equipped for any kind of a disaster situation. After having had all the earthquakes and the floods and the mudslides and all of the things that we have had, and the droughts and so on. But the great thing about this movie is that it does not focus in on like kind of just the mass, but it focuses in on one individual and what that one individual goes through and what this one family goes through and this one relationship between father and daughter. And there's this really extraordinary scene in the film, one of my favorite scenes, when my daughter comes down. It's pretty much an end when she's supposed to be in quarantine and she's really dangerous. She has already gone out and hunted for animals. She has already caught a fox nearby the farm and bitten that fox to shred and sucked his blood out and all this stuff. So we have seen her go through some really weird changes. And so I'm sleeping basically with my shotgun. And that's what the interesting thing is here. But because usually I confront the enemy and huge armies and have huge battles and wipe everyone out. And here you have this one little girl that is like, 16, 17 years old. And, and I'm worried I'm sleeping with my shotgun because she could at any given time during the night, come and sneak up on me and bite me and kill me or infect me with the virus. And so that's the fear that I live under. And she, of course, lives under the fear that she's going to kill her father. So, and then eventually you see that scene where she opens up the door and you see her feet, close-ups of her feet, walking down the steps and coming close, and I'm asleep. And she comes very close with the face to my neck. And she reaches over, she's going to bite me. And she pauses, and she looks at me, and then she kisses my forehead, and she walks away, and she because it's a scene where she shows the amount of love that she has for her father, that even though her instinct says bite, but her love was stronger, and then she turned away and walked upstairs in her room. And we don't want to give away the ending of the movie, but it's a very, very powerful scene. So it's a lot about the love between a father and a daughter, the love I have for her, and I don't know what to do about the fact that they suggest two things: to use the shot to kill her or to use the shotgun. And how do you do that as a father? How do you kill your daughter? It's a crazy choice to have. And for her, it's she knows that I want to protect her. So she says to herself, obviously, I got to protect him from myself, from me. And so she's working on that and trying to figure that out. So it's that drama that you see, especially towards the end of the movie. I just loved acting out those scenes and acting out this drama because I've never really had the chance, because when you do action movies, whenever it gets to a scene that you do with another person, they spend very little time on that because they say, all right, we have 45 minutes to shoot this scene, and then we're going to go and blow up some buildings in the back, and we've set it all up, and for that we're going to do the next 2 days. So for the acting scene, you have like 45 minutes, and for the blowing up the buildings, you have 2 days. So it's always like, the priorities are different in an action movie than you have in a dramatic movie. And so here in a dramatic movie, you spend from morning to night just to act out and to figure out how to craft those scenes, how do you choreograph it, how do you stage it, and how do you make it really work. And so this is why I think it's so important when you have a director that has a very clear vision that can guide you through those scenes.
Yeah, I mean, one thing that is different for this film, as with Arnold's other previous projects, is in all of his other projects, and I think you touched on this earlier, Arnold wins. In every single other film you think of, Arnold ultimately ends up victorious. And as a character, Wade is dealing with his daughter who's infected, and ultimately there is no other option but he's lost. He's losing his daughter, he's losing his family, he's losing his livelihood, his farm. And how do you deal with that in the midst of a kind of world-changing apocalyptic scenario? We never see the bigger world, we never see the wider picture because we're in with this family, but it's really about showing the vulnerability. And I think what's nice about Maggie is showcasing a vulnerable side to somebody who's known for having no vulnerabilities. This is what makes Wade and makes Maggie as a film really exciting, is the fact that we're seeing an actor paired with a role that are perfectly suited. Someone who is strong, who was the pinnacle of the community within the film, is then made vulnerable by his daughter who's dying and ultimately going to become problematic and dangerous for the family. So that's what really drew me to the combination of being able to showcase that and pairing Arnold with Wade. It's incredibly exciting.
Yeah, definitely. And is there anything, Arnold, that you learned from working with Abigail and doing these more dramatic scenes?
Well, Abigail, she played it so real that I have to say that it made it a little bit easier for me, because I really had tears coming down on several times on scenes that we've done, because I didn't have to imagine that this is my daughter dying. I mean, she really made me feel that she was dying. And it was very, very sad. And the way she did it, with certain subtleties, it was, it's like they always say in acting, don't act, be real. And she was real. I never felt that she was acting, she was real. So she's that kind of a powerful actress, and with tremendous skills and crafted. So I was amazed and working with her, and and it's really amazing that the movie has gotten such unbelievable response because of that. And people haven't seen the movie yet; they've seen the trailer, and they respond just to the trailer. There was this extraordinary response to the trailer, and for us to get accepted in various different film festivals, the Toronto Film Festival and now the Tribeca Film Festival. And today we have the premiere tonight at the Tribeca Film Festival. And I never thought that I would be involved in a movie where we are going from, film festival to film festival, and then we are at the Tribeca Film Festival. It's really wild. So it just shows you, it's one of those kind of, even I'm 67 years old, but you have those breakthroughs in your career that are very interesting, because it reminds me kind of when I had the breakthrough and I got from Conan the Barbarian, where I had to kind of rely on my body, to Terminator, where all of a sudden it was kind of the acting, and it was acting out to be the villain, to be the machine. Or then the breakthrough with Twins, when I all of a sudden, it was the first time I was doing a comedy, and then I was accepted in comedies. So this is one of those kind of interesting breakthroughs, where here I was doing a dramatic part, and all of a sudden now I'm getting scripts sent that are all dramatic pieces, So I tell my agent, I say, no, I don't want to go from one dramatic piece to another, but it's nice if we find another great script, to do another dramatic piece, but in the meantime, I still like to do the action movies.
Yeah, definitely. I think we have a couple minutes for some audience questions.
Just 2 questions.
Two. All right, Adam?
You always do this to me. I had it.
Hi, thank you for coming. I just wanted to know what you think of your son. His career, Patrick, is really taking off. Do you live vicariously through him, and does he think that you're just like the coolest dad?
Well, in a way, I'm a little jealous, because it's so easy for him to get up there and to do movies. I was struggling much more than he was. But the bottom line is that I'm so proud of my kids, because they all have figured out kind of what they want to do. And I always told my kids that it doesn't matter what you do, as long as you're passionate about what you're doing. If you want to be a plumber, then be passionate about that. If you want to be a writer, be passionate about that. If you want to be an actor, professional athlete, or whatever you want to be passionate about it, and understand that you got to work your butt off. That is rule number 1. You are in the greatest country in the world, in the land of opportunity, so anything can happen here. Any success that you want to strive for, you can turn into reality, any vision that you have, and so on. So it's great to see my son, following his dream and his vision of being an actor. In the meantime, I like it that he is going to USC and study business, because that's what I did while I was, kind of going after my acting career and trying to become a leading man. I was going to business school and studying business, because you got to go and be smart. Because remember, when it comes to money, it's not as much as you make, but more how much do you keep. And as we see all the time in Hollywood and in professional sports, people get wiped out financially. You see Mike Tyson, one day has a lot of money and he's making a 30 million, 40 million a fight, and the next day all of a sudden is financially in ruins. So, how did that happen? And, this has happened so many times with athletes, so many times with actors and entertainers, and then all of a sudden they owe, the IRS, $30 million, and they say, wait a minute, you made your money, why didn't you pay your taxes? So it's all these strange things. So I want my son to know how to handle his money without having to have a business manager I never had a business manager, but I always turned $1 into $2, and I always was happy to pay my taxes. And my tax attorneys always were told, pay more than less. I'd rather be on the safe side than not pay enough, because I don't want to owe anything to the IRS, and I always appreciate what the government does. Building all the infrastructure and the schools and the roads and the airports and all that. I mean, we need the tax dollars. So I think that if you have a business mind, then you know how to invest your money and how to control your money rather than losing it all. So it's good that he's learning acting, but it's also good he learns how to deal with money.
We have time for just one more question.
Thanks very much for coming. I'm a huge fan, followed you for years. I think everyone here is probably a huge fan too. I know we don't have much time. So I guess my question is, thanks for coming to AOL, and do you think you'll ever be back?
I paid him for that question, by the way. We better come clean here. I'll be back.
Thank you.
Thank you guys so much.
Well, it just shows you, when you have a good time, time goes fast. Do you want to say just something quickly on the end, Henry?
No, I think it's out.
So far I have said 17 words more than you did, so I want to make sure that you have equal opportunity.
No, it comes out on May 8th, and yeah, check it out. Yeah.
Thank you guys.